Hi everyone and welcome back to my little corner of the YouTube-iverse. I have got two cards today which are ink blended and stamped and heat embossed and what have you. It's got everything going on. And I had a little bit of a plan to begin with when I started out making this video. I laid out all my planned bits and pieces. However, as you know, probably, if you're anything like me, the best laid plans and everything don't always work out the way you are sort of hoping. So I laid out all the bits and pieces that I wanted to use. So I knew I wanted to use my Misty and my life-changing blender brushes from Picket Studios. I also wanted to use this stencil from Simon Says Stamps, which has still got some of the pixie spray on it. I also laid out some other bits and pieces which I didn't end up using, but we're just gonna skip right over that and kind of pretend that I knew what I was doing right away. So I'm sticking this stencil down onto a piece of Strathmore Bristol Vellum cardstock, which is not actually a watercolor cardstock. However, I find that it works really, really well for ink blending. So I'm starting with my Catherine Pooler inks, and the first color I'm using is called It's a Boy. It's a lovely, lovely light blue color. And I'm using my biggest brush from Picket Studios here. Just, I do find that when I'm using a lighter color and I want a really, really light blend, the bigger the brush and the lighter the movements, the sort of smoother and lighter color I get. It sounds very like mumbo jumbo, hibbity jibbity, but I promise it really does, you know, it gives you just a really nice sort of soft coverage without that, you know, bitty bobs and like, what do you call the marks when you get on when you're doing ink blending? Just marks? Let's go with that. Yeah, so I've sped up the video here now because I'm adding more and more color. So I wanted to create kind of like an ombre look with the inks, as you saw in the beginning of the videos. So I started with a really, really light brush of It's a Boy, and I'm working to add slightly more color as I'm going up, and then I'm going on to Something Borrowed, which is an incredible blue color. I love, love, love this color. And I'm going straight across first, and then we're going to go down into the light blue a little bit just to kind of get that even blend. And then we add a little bit at the top just to make that darker, because the next color we're going to go to is Aquatini, which is a very dark aquamarine teal color. Right, and here I'm just rubbing off my brush on a piece of simple kitchen roll, because I know that these colors are quite similar in, yes, quite similar in color. So it doesn't really matter if I get a little bit on the brush, because I'm doing an ink blending. I want it to be a quite seamless color anyway. So, and then I'm also using it at the bottom of my ink blended piece to save my fingers a little bit. Now I decided here I wasn't going to do just these three colors, so I brought in another color as well, but while I still had it with my blues and teals, I went over the bottom bit a little bit more with It's a Boy to just even out the blend a little bit. Now I moved on to Lime Ricky, and I've also swapped brushes, as you can see. So I've kept one brush for blues and teals, and I moved on to the greens. Now this is another incredible green color. It just, I don't know, it just speaks to me. I love it. Now you can see here that I did a little bit of a boo-boo. So much for keeping the brushes separate, but I will wash them in between to make sure there's no color interference. Now I was wondering at one point here, why is it going more yellow when I'm hoping to get it more like blue green? And you know, obviously the answer was that I'm like an idiot, used the wrong brush in the wrong color. So there we have it. Going over with a little bit of Last Green, Lime Ricky, this one is called. So there we are, we're nearly finished, and we're gonna get to that bit of the ink blending, which is my favorite bit. The reveal. Now, and because I've used a piece of kitchen roll, what I do is I just sprayed a little bit of water and use that same piece of kitchen roll and clean up my stencil and my work surface while I'm at it. Usually I use an old kitchen towel because I really cannot stand the smell of baby wipes, and also I really dislike the fact that they leave like little lint pieces on my stamps and my tools. It just, no, not a fan. So while I had all this out, I decided to do another ink blending piece, but I used a different set of colors. So this one is going to go all from yellows to corals to pinks. And the fun thing about this pixie spray that is on the back of the stencil, which I didn't have to use again, because the stencil is still tacky enough from the last use, even in between getting washed and cleaned off, it is still sticky enough that I didn't have to reapply it. How's that for magic? So here are the two pieces next to each other, and look at those luscious colors. And then I had a bit of an epiphany at the time. I was like, oh, a rainbow! Look at that. I might have to kind of like redo this piece, but on a long strip of paper. And as I said, like this pixie spray, even after cleaning up the second time, it's still sticky enough that I can just put it back, and next time it may need a little bit more of a reapply, but probably not. Right, so I've cut the two pieces down, slightly smaller than a A2 card size, and then I popped it back into my MISTI because I wanted to use some stamp sets and make these fun and really bright birthday cards. Originally, what I had planned on doing was to stamp like a whole grid of birthday sentiments and kind of do it a little bit like a turnabout stamp. But again, the best laid plans and all that. So here I've been sort of faffing about a little bit, deciding where these stamps are going to go. And then finally decided that this is where they're going to go. So this is what we're doing. And I'm going to stamp these in black ink using, I think it's blackout ink by Ink on 3. There you go. And this is my go-to ink at the moment. I just find it's so versatile. It works for watercoloring, it works for Copic coloring, just stamping, and yeah, it's brilliant. I really like it. And I decided that this wasn't good enough, so I actually ended up stamping it 2 more times to make sure I got a really good coverage of the black ink. And this is the magic of the MISTI, knowing that no matter how many times you need to stamp it, you're always going to get it in the same spot, provided your paper doesn't move. So there we are. There's all done, all stamped up. And I did the same thing with the second piece. Now I had a little bit of like epiphany, I thought, is that I was going to stamp up some of the fun kind of like shout out and whoop marks on this card. And first I thought, oh, this could be fun to just stamp it in gold pigment ink. And I thought this could be a really fun idea to just kind of add a little bit of shimmer and glitz. However, it's been a really long time since I've used pure pigment inks, and the ones that I have were sadly quite dried out, so that did not work out whatsoever. And what I should have done really is check them before I started stamping around. And in all honesty and like full, disclosure, I actually cut that part of the video out because not only was I running out of time, but also because it really did not work. So what I've done here is I've used my anti-static tool, and I'm popping the second card base back into the MISTI, and we are going to use some heat embossing on this instead. So we're going to heat emboss these pieces in gold instead. So we are dabbing on a little bit of Versamark ink onto the stamp pieces. And then we are going to add, this is metallic rich gold, or gold rich, metallic gold rich from Wow Embossing. And this is one of my go-to gold embossing powders. It's just such a, yeah, lovely, lovely gold embossing powder color. Is that the way to describe it? Gold embossing color. Let's go with that for now. Right, what I should have done here is instead of pouring it all over the panel, I should have been a little bit selective of where it was going to go. But I thought this could be fun, you know, because the Pit Hooray has picked up some of the gold as well to kind of make them sparkle a little bit. So after heating up my heat tool, we are going to set this and watch the magic that is heat embossing, which never ever gets old. Ah, look at that. Now, what I did notice right away was that the gold is covering the words quite a lot. So they are not as sharp or vibrant as they were before. They do kind of blend in a little bit too much into the background. So I wasn't overly happy with this one. Now, it does feel quite nice when you run your finger over it because it gives you a very, very nice texture. However, when I did the blue piece, I decided to be a little bit more careful where I poured the embossing powder. So we're moving on to this piece and we're doing the same thing. This one has also had the anti-static tool treatment. And now, as you can tell, this time I decided to just quite carefully and gently pour the powder on top of the stamped areas rather than just all over the panel. And this worked out so much better. And I kind of wish I'd done that with the first piece as well, but you live and learn. I hope, anyway. I mean, there's so many times that I remake the same mistakes in the craft room over and over again. And out comes the heat tool again. And off we go. Yeah, it seriously never gets old, this bit, does it? This part of the heat embossing, it never gets old. It's just pure magic. Look at that. It just adds something so fun to a card. So right, and then it was time to just finish off the cards. So I got white card bases and I've glued these panels down with some glue dots. And then I've also cut out small banners and stamped up It's Your Day from the Woohoo stamp set from Catherine Pula. The one on the left was I used Something Borrowed for the blue and I think Coral Cabana for the pink and yellow. Now, thank you so much for stopping by today, and I hope you enjoyed watching this video, even though there were lots of boo-boos and things not going according to plan. As always, I've linked all the products I've used for these cards down below in the description. Now, all these links are affiliate links, which means that I'll get a small commission at no cost to you whatsoever if you use them. So thank you so much for shopping through my links, and thank you for stopping by today.